Oh, isn't it beautiful timing for you as an LPL fan? Back into 2019, back after the Chinese New Year, and back at WE Stadium after what was yesterday a massive upset with IG losing to LGD. Today we ask the question whether WE can start us off like the same fashion against FPX, but only time will tell, and only time will tell us how the LPL is going to shape up. Of course, if you want WE merchandise, you're probably either in the wrong country or in the wrong part of China. As over in Tian here today, WE will be looking to shake themselves up. Hello and welcome back. My name is Jake Asterix, Aussie Punko, joined by the beautiful Brento Raz Muhammad. And if you're a WE fan, I'm sure, Raz, you already have yourself a jersey.
Oh, and I did once upon a time after they won finals in spring. Sadly, I lost it.
Oh, okay.
That being said, you're right. It seems like it's the time for upsets. It really does feel like that, especially after yesterday. And if you were sleeping due to Chinese New Year's, if you weren't too waking up, last night really did feel like an alarm clock just ringing in your ears. Because LGD, no longer at the bottom. Technically, They're all tied at just one win apiece down there. But the fact that they were able to take that victory over Invictus Gaming, now putting IG 4-2. We haven't seen IG taking 2 serious losses in the regular season, like, since 2017, so it's so insane to be able to say that.
And to be fair for LGD as well, everyone pitted them as a 16th team in the league considering the LPL talent at the moment. Not sure if you can really hold a candle to that theory anymore considering their performance and improvement against Invictus Game.
Yeah, the fact that LGD, and I know we'll discuss this as this split goes on,
of course,
has made the major improvement of putting in Condi as their jungler. Shot calling worries no longer an issue. I mean, they're still in a great growing pain at the moment, but you're seeing golden lights as we now go in towards today's matchup. I want to compare them to WE later on. We'll get to see them at the first series.
Yeah, look, but the second series I want to start off first because we will move back to that. RNG and EDG is going to be our match of the week. And RNG, I mean, are they going to follow the same slump? EDG haven't had the best start to the 2019 spring split as well.
Yeah, but at least I would say just coming off of Chinese New Year's, it's a fresh start for all of them. Pillars of the LPL, both EDG and RNG wants to get it rolling quickly.
Sure.
RNG just came off of their win versus Vici Gaming, so they started out with a blast. So for them, Uzi just coming back, going up against iBoy, who is currently the best performing AD carry, but not on a performing team. That difference is going to be important, and they want to be able to get some improvements later today.
That was Uzi's first series as well for RNG, so we'll see if he's up to the task a little bit later. Starting us off is WE and FPX. Now, FPX, if you saw at the top of that table, are undefeated and continue to impress us here at the start of the spring split.
Yeah, impress and shock. A lot of people didn't see that one coming. Top 3, people had immediately taken FPX out of that. Top 5, I didn't even have them in my top 5. And for the main reasons of why they're playing this one out so well, for me, it all comes down to just the mid lane. The improvements that came in, Tian the jungler, and we're seeing Doinb come in as just a be-all, end-all leader for the squad. And he's being able to, like, I would say control Tian, but also just kind of like they work as a duo incredibly well. As you can see on the screen, the kills and assists at 15, just based off of these two alone, the actions start and end with these two players, and I really love what kind of action they're generating on the map.
Because remember, they're both new to the team with Tian coming from Suning last year, Doinb over from Rogue Warriors. A mixed match here seems to work a lot better than other jungle mids in the league at the moment.
And it doesn't just end at the mid lane. For me, the fact that they're able to plug in so well with the side lanes as well is what impressed me. In fact, one that really comes to mind is when they went up against JD. They were able to push mid, get great control around the topside river area, and just roll the clip, because it's going to be both Tian and Doinb setting up for this. They played this one out so well that even though Flawless was here, perfect timing to be able to push this one off, double taunt. GimGoon gets 2 kills. He even comes in of a solo kill just because of how well he was able to get, funneled the gold into. And it turns into this, because one of the major issues that GimGoon has had in his career in the LPL has been how he's been desynced with the rest of the map. Not only did we see him getting online based off the pressure of Tian and Doinb topside, he's able to immediately take that pressure, move it towards the bottom lane, and his team fighting has been emphatic thus far in the split. So GimGoon really does feel online for this team.
This is his 3rd year in the LPL as well, and a lot of people out there won't know the name of GimGoon because he's been overshadowed by other top laners when really he sits in that top rank, even if FPX was 0-4 and 4 was 0.
Yeah, and so like for me, we already saw saw how that translates into the bottom lane. And a major strength for this team has just been in the team fights for this squad, right? Because the fact that we're getting to see like GimGoon get, access into the bottom side of the map far more often. We saw that in 2017 and 2018, but a lot of that was just kind of mismatch. Like he's either really fed in his carry top laner, or he's like really trying to scale up on the Vladimir.
Yep.
And the team fights have either been him carrying it alone or him being too far behind for it to really matter. So it's nice to be able to see GimGoon ahead, put in the forefront, and coming out to succeed.
Picking up a lot of these Akali matchups, a lot of the carry top lanes as well. But for FPX, GimGoon has always fit into the perfect style, which it has pushed forward with Doinb still in the mix, which is the chaos. It ensues them. It makes FPX such a unique team in the LPL, and their team fight's even more deadly than any other.
Because they've always had talented players, and I think that's something we've always said about FPX as a unit before Doinb came in. So now that Doinb is actually online with the team, you get to see those team fights really play out.
Oh, yeah.
And so I want to really zone in on the fact that it is chaotic. That when they went up against Suning, a team that's known for being formulaic front to back, that they were put in shambles. Now people will come out and be their naysayers and say that, we didn't get to see Hacker, or we didn't get to see a healthy mid lane come into the squad in that series. But it really did come hand in hand of SMLZ and Sword Art dealing with just constant flak dive threats. What you're seeing in the past from LWX was that he would go out, take these really risky dives, and he would fall flat pretty consistently. This time around, he has so much faith in GimGoon, who's been playing up. Doinb, who's such a great diving player regardless. He has great engages, especially as you saw in the Sion game. His Aatrox games have been fairly strong. So he can wait it out, play it patiently until, before he finally gets into the dive. So it feels like the structure, they're very comfortable with it, and it's really messing up a lot of teams.
And it feels like with that structure as well, LWX and Chris, the longest standing duo in the bottom lane worldwide, I think we confirmed that a couple of weeks ago, Raz.
Yep.
Or at least close enough. They just feel comfortable. They look controlled now as well. But controlled chaos is a weird thing to say about this team. I look at Doinb and I say he's the forefront of it all. With the voice now in this roster, FPX have climbed their way to the top. But Doinb as well is still chaotic himself.
That's the major issue that I have so far, is because them being able to take first place, being able to etch out a lot of these chaotic team fights at the beginning of the split, when a lot of teams are still trying to figure themselves out communication-wise. I know Suning has been one of the major teams that have come together and still needs to be able to find the right Baron fights. My question is more so in the vision control that Doinb has had throughout his career. So 2017 in spring, when he was on Chagu Reapers and was named the MVP of 2017, that was great for him. His warding stats were excellent, and when he went into the playoffs, they just didn't have the pound-for-pound talent outside of his lane to basically go forward in the playoff run. And then when he went on to 2017, JDG, 2018, Rogue Warriors, his warding stats came down exponentially, and this is his warding stats in comparison to other mid laners. So this is not even a LPL wide warding stat that we were talking about. And so it really been an issue for him is when it comes down to the summer split, when teams are well coordinated, and it all comes down to that one single Baron fight. If you don't have control over it, and if you just lose that because you don't have that advantage over the situation, boom, you lose the fight. Baron, inhibitor, game. Those have been major issues for teams like Rogue Warriors that we have previously mentioned, and JDG. So what I would love to see for this team, if they want to remain consistent as the split goes on and they improve, because they can improve from where they currently are,
Of course.
that will give them their ticket to, let's say, MSI or Worlds. But if they are, comfortable with their current style and their vision control doesn't get improved, then they will get overtaken by the teams like RNG, Suning, and eventually Invictus Gaming.
Invictus Gaming, when they wake up a little from what we saw yesterday. For FPX, it's vision, but it's also the way they're going to play against WE, and that vision's going to be very impactful because WE have later game times, later win times, I should say, as well. And WE, very similar to FPX, except maybe less chaos and more late-game team fights with a bit of control.
At their best, they were the best team-fighting team.
Yeah.
And at their best, they were still a very long team. In fact, right now, they have the longest average game times of the LPL. So if you're going up against WE and if you can't take them down in lanes, then you're going to be expecting that. Speaking of lanes, going for FPX, GimGoon in the top lane, Tian in the jungle, Doinb in the mid lane, and rounding out the bottom lane, AD carry, LWX, and support Crisp.
Tian is the one to watch as well with Doinb, as we talked about before. Those three names, LWX, Crisp, and GimGoon, you should know very well by now. FPX as a roster has been pretty straightforward, but WE, there have been some changes. We see Post in the top lane, Magic in the jungle, xiye, Mystic, and Missing down on the bottom side.
So the changes that you're referring to, right in the beginning of the split, they had Beishang, they had Chen9. I'm actually pretty comfortable with what they have now because this has been more of a consistent roster that they've been fielding. The major issues with WE since, 2017. 2017, their highest of highs. Going into 2018, they lost their coach.
Yep.
Coach Home went to JDG. And on top of that, they had a lot of internal issues that came about that spawned as a response to that. And so from that point forward, they had a 10-man roster. They've been swapping people left and right. And the two members that I did not want them to change, xiye and Mystic. Two all-stars, two world caliber players.
They are world caliber, yeah.
And so for them to be on the screen currently, I am happy about that because while they have talented players in development, I do not want them taking the spot of Mystic and xiye.
So xiye and Mystic may be the stable ones and probably the best performing members, but Post is one of those newer members. We have not seen 957 so far in the LPL spring split, but maybe that's for the better because Post is assimilating well in this roster. WE just picked up a 2-0 win before Chinese New Year against EDG, and you have to say that Post had probably one of his best performing games.
Yeah, currently he is having very stellar laning stats. His experience difference at the moment is one of a winning team, which is very surprising. For a team that is currently not performing as well as people would want them to, especially with such a large fan base, he individually is performing. You would just want to see that translate to the other parts of the map or him rotate a little bit more often. In the last series that we saw, we were starting to see a lot more of that. And so that's something that I think is very promising because a lot of the times when you look at Team WE, you think of like 957, who is the picture-perfect player of team play, of teamwork, of consistency. May not be carry top laners or, that carry potential. People will always try and say, well, what about MSI when he came out with the Fizz and the Kled?
The Kled top, yeah.
I always found that to be an exception to the talent pool and times that he had. But Post is an exceptional talent mechanically. We just want to be able to see him play the style of Team WE well.
And WE with the 10-man roster, you hope that these up-and-comers are filling the shoes of some of the veterans in the roster. If you're not playing 957, Post needs to be up at that level because we focus on xiye, we focus on Mystic, and now going into game number 1, WE need to break this loss streak like they did with EDG. Remember as well, Raz, 9.2 here. So we're not on 9.3 like the rest of the world. China's still sitting on 9.2 till eventually we skip over to 9.4.
The important point, too, is that even though the Frostmancy changes on live went online for 9.3 in China, we have still gone through the Frostmancy changes.
Thank you.
So no Frostmancy in the top lane. It's still viable in the bottom lane. So you might find an Ezreal that picks up Frostmancy. Not in this game, though. Has been banned in first rotation.
Yeah, so Ezreal gone, LeBlanc, Jace as well with FPX. GimGoon getting priority again, but remember, Doinb has actually picked this Urgot mid. WE being cheeky right off the bat. We know that Riven's come through as a response, but maybe not this time.
That's the thing about FPX, is the best aspect of GimGoon and Doinb as the duo that they have is that in pick ban when they're on blue side, they can go through Aatrox and the Urgot so well.
Yep.
Doinb has been playing tanks since he came into the league. Bruiser since he came into the league. Like, Kled is still an option here. So going into the second phase, WE is playing this out like they're playing against FPX on red side when they themselves are on red side because just of the solo lanes being able to swap so frequently.
Yeah, the versatility is still going to be a big factor. WE just focusing the bot side first with Thresh locked in, but this time Magic on Olaf is an aggressive jungler to start off WE.
And I think that should be combined with a Galio. So I wonder if FPX, wow.
Here we go.
Picking the Aatrox up, wow.
What
the hell? So what I was about to say is that at least Aatrox can still be a jungler, right? So there is still some flexing that you can do there. But they just put all their cards out on the line. They're saying, no, Lissandra mid, but Aatrox jungle, Urgot top
Remember,
lane.
Raz, we don't actually see the Aatrox jungle very often in the LPL. This is a Korean-style pick where Aatrox is often flexed into the jungle. Could always be a Lissandra support that EDG Mako showed us off the bat as well.
That's very true. Crisp is a great engage type player as well. So for him, he wants to be able to start the fights out. You probably saw in the previous replays that his go-to was the Alistar. So I wonder. I like the Lissandra pickup because just in case the Alistar gets banned, he can always pick it up.
He's also picked up a Nautilus as well, so Crisp is not far away from some of these niche picks. We'll see.
I will say, though, the reason why I would expect these to be playing out as Lissandra mid, Aatrox jungle, and Urgot top lane is because they are so consistent in that meta, in the 9.2 meta, before we see the real changes get hit to Aatrox and Urgot. So for Aatrox, there are no real matchups in the jungle that can really, you could say very naturally, Olaf can run him down. But I just think that he's such a quick clear in Raptors and Krugs that Aatrox doesn't have to worry about that, because he also has the Aftershock too, which keeps him up in a lot of his Q knockups. At the same time, Lissandra and Urgot just have very odd playstyles to really play against, so they're never going to really fall that far behind in their matchups, even in their worst matchups.
Also,
so I
Olaf,
think FPX should stay firm there.
I was going to say, Raz, Olaf wants people to run away from him, not run towards him, and that's
true.
what Tian could do. So you're seeing a pretty aggressive start here from FPX. For WE, what we noticed was the Vayne picked up, but a very common pick in 9.2, getting away the mid lane matchups to get WE into an uncomfortable position, while WE in the second ban phase got rid of the supports, as we said. Now for WE, this is a precarious pick, and the Rumble is locked in. First game back for us, Raz, and I'm pretty happy we started with this.
It's insane. I think they need to go towards a Galio pickup here, because for Team WE, they don't have a lot of just hard engage. They're really just banking on the fact that Missing has a sick Thresh, because the hooks they're going to be following up on. Or perhaps the Rumble ultis, if they're Looper-esque and they can just hit 4 people in a row. If it's just that good, then sure, you can rely on Post's ultimate. But really early on in the split, when coordination becomes an issue, especially for a team that's below 500 like Team WE has been in the last 2 years, then you really do need more of a hard CC, all-in engage type. We'll have to see how well they can play this, because the last pick is going to be through xiye. Going
up against the Teamfight Gods and FPX, Chaos ensues them, and Chaos is the name of their game. What is the final pickup here? The Kalista, now locked in for LWX and Chris. Their bottom lane just got a bit juicier.
All in engage. So while WE is lacking in simplicity, FPX goes all in on that.
Oh yeah.
The Kalista ultimate, first of all, the control that you have on objectives has always been spot on if Kalista's on top of it because of her Ren stack. So that's something you would be expecting, because there's just so much CC there for FPX.
What?
And then you see the Karma pickup here. So Karma has been a pickup 9.3 and forward.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Frostmancy, we're still seeing the Karma with Comet because of how valuable the protection compositions are currently. It's not that valuable here. I think this game could just be a big exception because there's a Vayne here. We're going to have to see xiye do well in lane. He has to play out well in lane, because at this point, he's going to be early on in the game, early and mid game, buffing up Magic to just run down Doinb, Tian, and LWX.
And then late game, we buff up Mystic, get him into the fight as well.
So the strategy is definitely there, and I expect them to go towards the support items of like the Ardent Sensor and perhaps the Athene's Unholy Grail. We'll have to see if he can do well enough in lane to support that strategy.
Because if you can't engage straight off the bat with your kit naturally, Karma's always good at getting people out of the fight, or vice versa, getting them straight into it as well. So for WE, fixing up the draft to a degree at that last moment. But the Vayne pick is interesting. We see a hyper carry there in the bottom lane for Missing and Mystic.
So what's really worried me with this draft, picking the Vayne so early on, usually you see the Vayne pick go through when they know that they're going up against the Braum pick, right? They counter pick the Braum with the Vayne. The reason they do that, they get a pretty good idea that the enemy team doesn't have that much hard engage, so they can play front to back very easy, knowing that they don't have to deal with any like Lissandra ultimates, like just anything that can dive into the backline and really mess up the strategy here. But they picked the Vayne, knowing they're going up against that many bruisers, that much CC locked down with specifically the Lissandra. And then of course the Braum did come out as a response, because thankfully they did ban out the Alistar in second phase. But I really feel like that was just a risky call. We'll have to see as the game goes on, because the Karma should do a good enough job later on. I'm just worried about that first team fight around the Dragon. dragons are so impactful early on, so you gotta really hope for Team WE's sake that the first one isn't an Ocean or an Infernal Dragon. And if it is, that they'll have a good enough lead before that point.
But building a hard composition against FPX, that's a risk that WE are willing to take. For FPX, they've got all the tools in their kit for the chaos to continue. Let's get into game one and see if WE can fight back.
Beautiful scenery.
Was that the stadium?
It feels like that was the stadium. That's some stuff.
Designer got some, extra couple hours to work on it today. Interestingly enough.
Weather's looking good on the Rift. That it is.
That it is, Raz. All right, let's take a look at Keystones because we've got a very different composition. Even in 9.2, this is a bit out of length. Right now, looking at press the attack, not Hail of Blades after the buff there for Vayne, but that does feel like a solo queue thing at the moment.
Press the attack makes a lot of sense there. The one thing that I'm going to make note of is that that's 4 inspiration secondary on WE. So if I'm just going to do a rundown of how many stopwatches they probably have, that's 1 on the support, 1 in the jungle, and 1 top lane.
Yep.
That is 3 stopwatches that'll come online 10 minutes on that FPX really have to worry about. So I think that's really nice. It's nice for, specifically I would say the Olaf, because that means that clock strikes 10, they look for a dive in bottom lane. Not only do they have the Thresh Lantern to really pull him out of there if it gets too dicey, but you'll also have the stopwatch. So it's really nice to support the dives, and for LWX, I would say he would have to worry about that.
Makes sense, especially when Magic is playing this aggressive this early on, straight into the enemy blue. It looks like we've got some vertical jungling going on the other side as well, so WE are going to pace themselves towards that top side, and could be an opportunity to get GimGoon while he's at it.
Yeah, ever since the Scuttle Crabs, the Scuttle Buddies, gave that much experience onto the map and just basically became a camp of its own,
Yep.
It made it so easy for teams. Like, there is no risk in going buff to buff. And if you are Team WE and you have a Rumble that will naturally push out and is also naturally very easy to gank, splitting up the map makes a lot of sense. Currently, I love that strategy here from WE.
Tian going to clear out the wolves and play towards more of their own strategy. Tian towards the mid lane. Might actually get the reverse gank or the other side here for xiye. Doinb at half health. Tian coming in anyway, but Magic's in on the side. It's a 2v2. We talked about this in pick and bans, Raz, but xiye now caught out the Infernal Chains. Locked down. Tian still here with Aftershock. Will he get locked down? The answer is yes. Again, the damage comes out. The inner flame from xiye, forcing them back, and FPX lose the trade.
That was really dicey, and Tian knew, based off the positioning, that 100% Olaf was in the area. He just was playing it out very slowly because he knew he had enough HP to really work at Karma. The whole game was to bring Doinb out. Doinb didn't have much HP, didn't have any mana, and so as long as he came a little bit closer to support Tian, then it was going to be Magic and xiye that would just double up on him. But didn't really happen. Both teams really knew how to play it out. You saw supports kind of roaming to the situation, but nothing really coming to fruition.
And xiye will just be able to push out the wave as well. Get everything to a standstill. Doinb just teleported back.
Wow.
And that's a bit of damage to come through. Double Darksteel purchased.
This is fine, though, because he's just going to pump out the Corrupting Potions, really push this one hard. He can choose to base and then still have the Corrupting Potions. It really just depends on xiye here, because he's the one with the teleport advantage. Xiye is going to have to either stick by and take the CS, or he's going to base, allow Doinb to have the push, and then base again to match those base timings. So right now, Doinb is still fine.
Yeah, actually goes around to the Raptors, getting a bit more information on Magic. xiye still has not based. Remember, cleanse instead of teleport here on the mid laner for WE.
So Doinb, knowing that now Karma, because he's pushed up so far up, that he knows that he's going to base out, expect him to get a hard push on this wave, base himself, look to pick up another item, but I would want, I know we had this discussion top of show, for him to pick up a control ward.
Yeah.
Really pick up that control ward and get bottom side pressure till you can actually support Tian in his river ventures.
Tian just gets a Scuttle Crab and walks away. Doinb still in lane for the time being. Vision score maybe eluding him for a bit longer.
It's just a game at this point, because xiye even waited a little bit longer for the next wave. But you play that game out longer and longer, Doinb is going to have the advantage in this situation. So here we go. He did it at the right time, though. Basing at the cannon minion wave means that you don't lose that much.
Yep.
You'll lose one minion, and hopefully you'll come back fast enough for the cannon as well. So that's completely fine there.
It comes back at later half of the wave as well. Raz, there is no ward in Doinb's inventory.
I'm sad.
The mana crystal instead.
We talked about this. Get the control ward. What's the mana crystal going to really do for you there?
Couple more ice shards. That's about it.
They knew that the ward from Magic was placed down. Can't do anything about it now.
Oh, there's a flash ward from missing. The gank comes through. This is a 3v2, but teleport coming in time. Never mind. WE have already gotten the kill. Post actually comes in for the ultimate, and Crisp is going to drop as well. FPX lose 2 in the bottom lane.
It's a big loss there. The fact that FPX were pushing up, and there's not much you can do there. Magic is just going to roll you down. I love the fact that they doubled down with Post just TPing in. That's a bit of a loss because he's going to come back maybe losing that one, turn in the top side.
Yep.
Ooh, wait a second.
This is a big commit for the Infernal Drake, but it is just Crisp. Enough to get Magic off of it, though. And FPX now going to continue this forward. Spotted out by a ward. Where is Magic going to go? Just back to the base.
There we go. Pushes him off. At least they get something back off of this. So, Crisp, I guess the one notable thing that he went around here is that Crisp actually went towards Spellbook very naturally, has the teleport. I thought he was going to utilize teleport if there was a top lane play happening, perhaps. But no. Pushes them off of Infernal Dragon. They pick up the first Infernal. Roll the dice, and the next one's going to be Infernal too. So next Dragon is going to be 100% contested. Here is the play.
Very good flash from missing.
So the teleport being channeled here was interesting because the wave was actually in the middle part of the top side and was going to be pushing right back into Rumble. So he's going to take this as a worth just because in another situation, in another world, Tian would be in the area. And so you never want those kind of ganks turning on its head. That could just be a contested fight, perhaps a loss. So Poe's just recognizing the situation and TPing is a good idea.
He's still quite even in the top side of the map. Post didn't lose too much CS, but did have the better side of that matchup. GimGoon able to hold strong for now. About 10 CS down, so still for Rumble. Able to get the Ruby Crystal on the back as well with that assist.
Miraculously kept onto the one turret plating too that I thought he was going to lose. So really well done there.
Just getting the play into Chris. Still a very dangerous matchup now suddenly starting for WE. Tian has moved to the bottom side of the map. Is level 6 with that World Ender available. Oh no. Mystic, do not check that brush.
We're
but
fine.
Good timing there. Tian's gone back to base.
One thing I want to make note about Vayne, because we've been seeing so much Vayne ever since Hail of Blades really came online. So this is going to be press the attack, which is much better in terms of scaling.
Yep.
Hail of Blades just feels like the cheesier laning option. I love it.
It's really not fun versus it though.
Yeah, when you're going up against the Hail of Blades Vayne that's just maxing W, and you're like, well, I mean, any real trade that she goes for, she's just going to just double proc that stuff. And it makes you sad on the inside.
Super annoying. I don't know if you've had this Infinity Edge first on Vayne, even in 9.2.
Well, if it's a 9.2, it's just hard trolling.
Yeah.
So you should just beat that.
Oh, Raz, you know what elo I'm in.
Yes.
I don't need to reveal.
But yeah, the fact that I would say going in towards press the attack makes a lot of sense because you should be able to get through the laning phase here. And on top of that, you have great protection with the Karma later on in later stages right now. You can already see Ludens being picked up by xiye.
Yep.
That's the only real damage item you should be seeing on Karma. From that point forward, you should be seeing Athene's Ardent Sensor, just the two of them.
But we talked about xiye getting through this laning phase okay, and it's been pretty much good. And this is what WE needed just to move towards that later parts of the game in relative safety. Only lane at the moment getting pushed in is the top side of the map. Bottom lane, Vayne versus Thresh going very well against the Kalista Braum.
It's mostly because Magic has had this much pressure bot side. Take
Yep.
a look at this. Raptor camp all in his face. The fact that right now xiye has been getting constant shove in this lane, which is the benefit of having the Karma mid lane. You just get constant shove in lane. At this point, at least Doinb has blue buff, so he can actually try and contest this. But here we go. They might contest through just a raw fight.
Glacial Path going to be channeled in here onto xiye. Where is the Frozen Tomb?
Oh, so close.
Can't get the range. Flashes forward, roots him down. xiye flashes over the wall. Doinb still with ult, and Tian getting the pressure he needs.
Good call, though. Just Doinb really trying to force the flash, because had he thrown the ultimate down, cleanse would have been the option. But he didn't want xiye to blow cleanse. He wanted him to blow flash. So really good point. Next fight, all eyes on xiye because that's who the target's going to be.
It was a really close moment there, thinking about whether to throw the hook. Of course, Doinb not going to channel in with that glacial path once again.
You never know, so xiye just had to blow up out of there, even though he was alone
got three
there.
people, you don't know what's going on with FPX. Walking away from the Mantra Q. Doinb able to get the push back out, but Magic now clearing up vision as Tian goes back, heading towards the bottom side of the map here, which does need a bit of a momentum boost.
Yeah, you really have to continue the pressure bot side. Even though we talked about the average game time that WE's had, even FPX, even though they're the first place team, their games still go rather long, come down to a lot of, just a cluster of fights. Double Infernal Drake is way too strong at the moment. FPX 100% want to be able to nail that down, and WE want to be able to take that away from them. So WE is never going to put themselves in a position, if they have this much control, to be the one that starts it, because that puts them in a 50-50. What they want to do is really just nail down the pressure on top of LWX and Crisp, so they never have priority, and they have an issue of starting fights. At least that's what we should be seeing.
Yeah, look, at least at this point as well, they know where Magic is. So if this fight starts in the bottom lane, FPX pretty safe to go for the fight, then the Infernal Drake. Because at 30 seconds till it comes up, and Magic rotating through will be spotted out by the deep ward that Chris just put in the brush.
Ooh, here we go.
Doinb, very aggressive. They just know Magic's there anyway.
Forgot to mention, jungle proximity mid between both of these teams is just insane.
Yep.
Magic has second place right now in jungle proximity around mid lane. xiye and Magic, ever since Magic has joined the team, really has been like a second laner essentially.
Yeah.
He's focused so much around the area.
Oh
my God.
Talk about mid proximity, Raz. Where was Magic that time? WE losing their mid laner and probably will lose in this Infernal Drake too.
The one time he's not there, Tian gets him.
Yeah.
That's funny too, because Tian is literally 5th place in terms of jungle proximity, 25.3%. The time he spends mid. So both of these junglers really do look towards mid as the core part of the map. So the fact that this one ticked down xiye, this could mean a second Infernal Dragon for FPX.
The difference at this point is Doinb is going to be one of the first into the fight. With that Luden's Echo now picked up, and Infernal Drake, damage that Doinb is pumping out is massive. Now, of course, he doesn't always take the glacial path, but he does take the win trades here. 20 CS in the mid lane. Starting to build up here for our carry of FPX.
And at this point, the composition is online for FPX. They really want to be looking towards the bottom lane. Missing still has flash up, so it would have to mean they would invest a lot to take the summoners, but they would really want to look bottom lane. LWX with his ultimate really should be able to get the ball rolling. Doinb wants to be able to follow up. Tian has been bot side for the entirety of the game, so this really depends on what the call is. Either Rift Herald or bottom lane tower. Ooh.
Herald is spotted out. Magic in the top side now.
Both dual lanes are swapping. They're heading back top side. Gotta wonder what the purpose is, but I don't think they have any information that the...
They do now.
Yeah, there we go. They see him. Hands up.
A 4v4 imminent in the top side if WE do not back off, because Crisp is over the wall. Mystic not going to be caught out. Dark Passage to get him to safety. WE will still want to contest for this Rift Herald. Magic throwing down onto Crisp.
So either they fight now, or they head right back mid lane to get priority. You can already see that Doinb was the first one back mid. He doesn't have much mana to really commit to a fight, so he recognizes that he wants no part of that.
Well, with Doinb mid, at least WE know this, and at least WE can prepare for the top side, because Tian's still here, Crisp as well. Remember, Doinb doesn't have teleport, but he can be there pretty fast. He's actually backing in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is the best time for WE to look for a fight. They have all members online, and they should have good information that Doinb wants no part of this fight. They should have the timing on teleport, and they should have seen the mana that Doinb had mid.
But again, it's the deep wards here that will discover where xiye and Magic are. And FPX just back away, not taking any unconventional risks in this fight. And you got to give it to FPX. Their early game has been cleaned up quite a lot here in 2019. And Doinb, again, being the voice of reason for this team.
Yeah, juxtapose this with last year. And we've seen a lot of just 2v2, losses from LWX and Chris. Not because they mechanically lost the 2v2, but because they chose a fight when they didn't have jungle present, when the mid laner had roamed down bot side and information was just scattered. This time around, they're playing patiently until all members are online.
And with priority again from FPX, they say, look, everyone's backed away. This Rift Herald is free. And Magic not even going near it. He's just going back to the bottom side of the map. They want the turret versus the Rift Herald. FPX a trade they're happy to take at this point.
This is a really good decision from Team WE to try and pressure bottom lane, but even better from Doinb, looking on pose.
There's kill threat here with Luden's Echo.
Oh,
Sorcerer
wow.
post underneath the turret. Doinb, the flash is there. Stopwatch comes in handy, but for how long? Perfect timing here from the mid laner of FPX.
That was so well done, because that was WE trying to do the picture-perfect trade. Get some damage bottom lane, and then look to rotate on mid, where you would expect the Rift Herald to be placed. Doinb sees a few steps ahead of him. He says, I'll meet you bottom lane. Not only does he clear the wave, he stuns him on top of that. And now that they're able to take the kill, maybe look back mid lane and place the Rift Herald. But Tian, maybe, I wonder what he's going to do with this.
At least trying to challenge Magic a little bit there. He's a level up. Doinb able to push back onto this turret, and with the full wave coming in, Tian down here as well. FPX know that this jungler cannot stick around. If he tries to clear the way, there's going to be a turret dive.
Oh, here we go. This is what I want to see.
Ragnarok is available. Doinb does not have ultimate, but he does have the damage lockdown under turret. Glacial Path is out, but now the turret's down. What can protect Magic here? Not Tian, that's for sure. Lockdown with Infernal Chains, the flash away. The jungle unable to save the turret, unable to save his summoners.
And time it. Magic doesn't have flash. He will have ultimate, hopefully, by the next fight that happens around mid lane. But you can really see like the thoughts going through Magic's head, trying to wave clear, so he can, really challenge Tian. Tian, was he forced to really utilize his Rift Herald to take the bottom lane turret down? They were pretty damn confident that they actually could just take it even if the minions die out. So, well done from Tian and Doinb to take that turret and still hold on to the Rift Herald now for the mid lane.
It means that they can, use it for the mid lane, probably even get a second proc with the way things are going. Mystic and Missing sitting in the top side of the map, so their priority is to continue pushing here, but Doinb is just absorbing so much farm. This is, again, the show of the mid laner of FPX, and you can see exactly why FPX are undefeated right now. Things are just working together, even in the face of adversity.
This is probably the most dangerous time for Team WE right now, because mid lane push is inevitable. The ultimate is ready from LWX and Doinb, so the engage is certainly there. And you don't have any ways to push them off of this other than the Rumble ultimate and perhaps Magic trying to run you down. But at this point in time, he's so far behind with how well FPX are playing, you just kind of have to let the tower go.
They'll at least get the Rift Herald before it gets another charge, but more gold over to FPX. Despite that though, WE still sitting mid comfortably. They're confident that they can take the fight now with xiye and the rest of the team. That Luden's Echo Karma, the shields are going to be huge, but big enough for Doinb and LWX at the moment, or even Tian as a person to look at as he picks up this Ocean Drag. I'm not too sure.
This is going to be a good pickup here. FPX just stacking a lot of this, and even though this is not a triple Infernal, it rolls the dice, so perhaps the next one is going to be Infernal, and you can play around that objective. We'll have to see if that's the case. Oh! Ooh, a double Ocean.
Double Ocean's not bad.
Especially up against the poke that Karma can throw at you, so that's going to be nice. That being said, the Elder Dragon is what we're going to be really focusing on. If the Elder Dragon comes online, you have now potentially 4 dragons that FPX would be accruing here. So it'd be a large team fight force to really deal with in FPX.
I think Elder Dragon has been pretty common in a lot of our LPL games as well, especially with WE. I mean, their games have been going some of the longest in the LPL too.
Elder Dragons are really what made WE's name. And on top of that, what won FPX their last series versus Sunic.
Yeah.
So I certainly expect multiple Elder Dragons in this series.
I'm hoping it goes the full way as well. The way WE have played this early game has been more or less better than what we saw against Sino Dragon.
I would say it's even better than we saw when they had their victory up against EDG. Team WE has been playing up, and that's pretty easy to say because the last split was pretty atrocious.
That's
so
fair.
The fact that they were the bottom feeders of the LPL last season really didn't feel like it was deserved based off of the talent that they had on the roster. Now that they've shored up that talent, they say, hey, Mystic and xiye, we apologize for ever, benching you again. It's never going to happen again. And also just making it so Missing is the support that you should be expecting to see from every game going forward. You could say the same for Magic as well. It's going to rely on some consistency here for the team. Definitely
a world-class mid lane and AD carry that want to return to former glory. And this is the game to start it off. FPX right now undefeated in series, beating Suning. WE trying to start the fight up in this top lane, and FPX is saying no. Wish to remain undefeated as Baron has now spawned.
Yeah, both these teams have really good Baron takes, not just based off the Blade of Runes King AD carries, the passes that Vayne has. I mean,
Magic might have to pop ultimate here, actually. Ragnarok not going to be forced out, so the hand of Magic very calm still in the face of two members of FPX.
Yeah, and win condition has really presented itself for FPX, because if FPX can bully Magic back to base, then they can go to the Baron, start playing that game. And if WE so much as respected enough to like send Missing over there to see if they can throw down a ward, like that's open field for LWX to send out his Kalista ultimate. We haven't seen that all just yet.
Oh, hang on, Doinb just locks down the damage onto
Wow.
Post. Gets dismantled here. WE want to turn the fight around. Doinb takes a massive damage from the Mantra in a flame, but Magic just rolls right in. No Ragnarok burn, but almost loses his life. Doinb straight back in as well, looking for the ice prickles to get the back end of the jungler, but even pushing him off means the turret here for FPX.
Yeah, they're just going to go out and take it immediately, right there. Demolish for GimGoon. I mean, they just probably have two Demolish amongst themselves.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's
You know they
insane
do.
how many Aftershock users we have here between Tian, Doinb, and then the Resolve secondary, I would assume, from GimGoon as well.
Of course.
So just being able to take the turrets down in side lanes, easy as hell. So like, take a look at this. We talked about how fragile the Rumble pick is, and just being alone under tower is not good enough. And if you're just, the fact that we didn't even get to see the ultimate get procced from GimGoon, it really shows how fragile Pose is here and how much he needs his Zhonya's Hourglass.
Really doesn't have a lot of health with that Morellonomic on first buy as well. We've moved away from the Lissandras into that Morellos for Post, but maybe that choice means that against GimGoon, he's just not going to get too much done here with now a 2-item Urgot in that matchup. A lot of the matchups here falling short because at the moment for WE, nothing's really happening. Playing the reactive game rather than proactive like FPX.
Yeah, because LWX has been so safe underneath this turret. Crisp has always been in the area as well. Look, he has Ignite and Cleanse. And while someone on the support team might ban you for that, like, that is viable here because with Spellbook, just being able to cleanse himself, let's say if Thresh ever gets a hook on him, then he can play body blocking there for LWX. LWX is so safe just based off of the wards that they have in the area that the Vayne pickup is not really working out here. Like, you can't trap the AD carry in a side lane. You can't look for the 2v2 that you would in a solo queue game. And so what you're really being tied down to is just getting as much farm as possible for Mystic, and then finding him in these team fights that are really crucial now. Take a look at this, dripping up because maybe they can find a pick here on GimGoon.
Well, you're waiting for the Condemn. The Undertow will slow him down. That's 4 members committing to the Urgot, but hang
Oh
on.
my
He
God.
actually gets Post. Fear Beyond Death means nothing to Ragnarok, but GimGoon's done his job. He got a 1-for-1, and it means top lane turret's going to drop down because of it.
And you can see the pings coming off from WE. They're afraid of Baron here, but FPX aren't in position. They're just going to look to try and take turret. So you know what? Big win here for Team WE. Even though they lost the top laner, at least they were able to alleviate pressure bot side and start trading because they're just outright losing across the map.
WE have to get whatever they can get, and right now that is the Ocean Drake, but FPX say, whatever, we don't care, we got the 10%, it's fine. Magic going to take this one around, but for FPX it just spawns another, and Baron's still the threat clearing vision here for FPX.
Worst case scenario, WE understood it. They sent so many members towards the bottom lane to take down GimGoon, and GimGoon took down their only teleport member. So had FPX been in position for a Baron run, they would have gotten it. Easy as pie. But the fact that this had worked out so cleanly, I say cleanly, but goodbye, Pose, and we're able to still trade back gold, beneficial for Team WE.
Yeah, GimGoon at least getting some of that gold back in their pockets, like you said. So now for WE with that Ocean Drake as well. There are some good news stories here, but Post just not having the Rumble game that makes WE that much more impactful.
Oh my God, stop bullying him.
Doinb still no wards, by the way, but there is a control ward up there for WE, so they would have seen Doinb waiting for prey. Post just having none of it as well. He's all the way back.
This is the sad story of a Rumble that's behind. If a Rumble's ahead, it feels so good. You just like teleport in there, throw the ultimate. Yeah,
does so much damage.
Flash in, Zhonya's. You look like the coolest man on the block. But when you are behind, it really feels like there are not enough towers on the map.
Like, I wish I had a tank. I wish I had a Scion.
Yeah.
Post at this game. It's not going to be the ones where we say he, he looks a lot better than 957. But I mean, everyone's got to have a bad Rumble game. What I'm looking at is still Mystic. As you said before, that the Vayne just hasn't had too much impact here. But I see a 2-0-1 Vayne with Quinsu's Rageblade and a QSS. So I see a mid to late game that WE can still benefit off.
I'm still a little concerned here because what xiye has done here with his item build, this has always been the risk with some Karmas. You see a lot of Karmas say that I'm not going to go full support here. I still want to do some damage.
Yeah.
So you see the needlessly large rod.
Where's the Ardent Sensor?
Exactly. So I want to be able to see the attack speed being buffed up on top of Mystic. You already see like a lot of the supportive items being built up here from Missing, so he can amplify Mystic's damage with the Zeeks, but I really want to be able to see the Ardent Sensor too, so you really can have a protection composition.
So who's going to be going forward in this comp at W? We discussed before, the Engage is going to struggle, and most likely you just want to buff Mystic, send him first after the Thresh hook. But the versatility and the protection around the AD carry is something that WE don't have as much as someone like FPX. LWX can just run around.
Because that's the importance of the team fight. If you're talking about what is the goal here, because Team WE doesn't have nearly as much resistances on an Olaf or especially the Rumble to keep them up in team fights, they're trying to make it so Mystic is so steroided up. Like, he is so strong that he can just blow through GimGoon, Tian, and Doinb and live long enough for him to be a real threat to the front line and back line as well. Currently, that's not what's happening. So I think if you are FPX, you are more than willing to dive into pose repeatedly. You're more than willing to like be able to play it slow enough because you can take down Magic, live through xiye's supposed damage. So like front to back should be in FPX's favor.
And you can get right out as well. Doinb and GimGoon just getting up free for this turret, missing in Magic, waiting for the pick. But look at the rest of FPX. Straight to the mid lane turret. WE have been routed once again. It's probably going to drop too. And FPX might just get right out.
Wow. So this kind of reminds me of RNG's old style. Yeah, that's Xiaohu on Echo and like top lane Camille for Let Me. Back in 2018, I want to say.
Yep.
A little bit of 2017, actually, when they were going up against EDG in some of their iconic finals. You get to see RNG like try and bully the side lane as much as possible. This time around, you need that side lane. It's not like you're bullying Mouse who's on a tank that says, you know what, I'm just going to still wait for a teleport where I'm still influential in team fights. That Rumble still needs to do damage. He doesn't have the items because he's being put so far behind.
Still so far away from that second item Zhonya's Hourglass. And WE still skirting around the fight, but Rumble's not ready. Sitting in the bottom lane turret, GimGoon can keep pushing up 2 levels ahead. With the teleport too, you'll know exactly who'll be doing more in these next team fights. WE skirt around the Baron, clear some vision, but are not willing to take the risky play just yet.
At this point, if I'm FPX, you just go for the Baron run. You have the Hex Drinker there for LWX. You're as strong as you can possibly get in relation to what WE is willing to dish out for you. Oh, he's actually just went straight for the Maw Malmortius. There we go. I mean, like,
why not?
If he wasn't already strong enough to deal with the AP that Pose and xiye could potentially throw at him, he is more than willing to take that fight now. So I would love to see FPX push out these adjacent lanes top and mid lane. Sure, the next, actually, I just lied. Infernal Dragon. That's going to be a triple Infernal Dragon here. Send them bottom lane.
You got 10 seconds. You can't contest that. It's actually one of the most controlled and calm games of the LPL we've seen. 7 kills in 28 minutes. Does not scream China.
Doesn't scream FPX either.
It really does not.
That's the new FPX that we're looking at. The fact that we're getting to see such a slow and controlled gameplay because we talk about the team fights, but they're just outright choosing that we don't have to look for it.
Yep.
So the fact that LWX hasn't just automatically gone for a 2v2 look or a dive with his Braum and Kalista ultimate, that really does scream progress to me.
You wanted to see how they'd shape up towards the end of the split. Well, Vision was definitely 1 point as we again look at Doinb's inventory, and it's got a stopwatch there, which is definitely fair for the Lissandra.
Look, he has necessary items. In the past, he didn't have the necessary items.
Very true.
Like, if you have an Amp Tome, then you're like, please, you could have made the right
Mana
choice.
Crystal.
Yeah, the Mana Crystal.
Instead of a Control Ward.
Now I can say, these are all very valuable items that you're building. You can have a pass on the Control Wards bit. Right now, with how strong he's gone for, like, usually you'd see the Lissandras picking up a Zhonya's at this point, but he's had the stopwatch for so long, it's easy to just sit on it. And it's kind of why Post himself has rushed the Zhonya's, because he had the stopwatch for some time, but then when he built up the first item, and I think he was either going for a Void Staff, likely going for a Void Staff, he then just lost the stopwatch because he was getting dived so repeatedly. So he was forced then to rush the Zhonya's Going for a Baron here.
Well, now that he has 2 items here for WE's top laner, they need to get in this pit. Baron has finally been started up by FPX. Teleport committing as well. Mystic running in first, but Doinb right in with a 2-man route. What is Mystic doing in the middle of this fight? He's been steroided up, Raz, but Tian here keeping crowd control duty. Mystic gets 1, but Doinb gets 2, and GimGoon the other. And Tian now on cleanup patrol. FPX are just too far ahead for this fight for WE. Front to back, easy as you like. Doinb gets a triple, and now it's all the way back to Baron.
Doinb forced his hand. He said, where are you positioned? He threw out his E and said, you're either choosing right or left. Right away from your team, left towards your team, but still, I'm going to stun you if you do that, if you make that decision. Mystic, because of that split-second decision, he chooses the immediate safety point. But because he's immediately safety, in the long run, so far away from his team, it's still an assured victory for FPX. Really well done from Doinb to force him in that situation. Just take a look at it. Because Mystic, of course, they want to walk up as slow as possible. Here, boom. He has to queue away from the Lissandra. He still lives much longer than you would expect, but so far away from his team, there is no right decision.
Oh, xiye had to flash there as well just to protect Mystic for that long period of time. It could have been a very different story for WE considering how it started. Triple Infernal, you see the damage come through from FPX and now the gold lead, 10k in their back pocket. They've just picked up Baron and things spiraling out of control. WE may have long game times, but the longer this game goes, the harder it feels like it's for them to make a return.
I will say this though, one mistake, and I have some faith in WE's composition, because the Ardent Sensor was just picked up here from xiye. So the Vayne, we saw a little bit of the damage that he was dishing out and how large the shield actually is. If they could execute just on one team fight, then I have faith. But right now, the execution has just been so clean from FPX that it's hard to really believe it.
They're not giving up anything here, even in front of that inhibitor turret. GimGoon can walk up 3 items strong. Missing cannot land any hooks here as well. And post from around the side, pushing out Crisp means nothing. Again, the Baron buff helping to push in while Doinb sits on the bottom side of the map. Inhibitor turret down. Inhibitor next. FPX just walking away. Again, they don't want to overcommit to this play.
It's way too hard. If they put their attention towards the mid lane, the demolish that Doinb had was able to take the bottom lane tower so cleanly. They have to look for a fight.
They get a hook onto Tian. Doinb in 4-man route. And FPX, maybe this time they'll take the risk, but what kind of a risk is it? 2 members already down. Doinb lives alive, and FPX clean up again. A second triple for the mid laner. He will take the turret as well. Go back in with the glacial path. Make that a quadra kill to finish off.
A 5-man Lissandra ultimate into just a quadra kill. Picture perfect from Doinb to clean up the fight.
And FPX will clean up the game with it. It was slow, it was paced out, but FPX in control the whole time as they sit down at Xi'an Stadium and tell WE where to sit first.
That is the most demoralizing game you could actually have if you're going up against FPX, because they outplayed you mechanically. They outplayed you mentally. They had full control of this game. And it was WE trying to play the scaling game. They're saying, okay, we'll trade. 2017 WE, all right. We'll take bottom lane turret. We'll make the best out of a bad situation. And it was only getting worse. And I think Team WE will take a look back at the Rumble pick. Not because it was bad individually in the matchup. Because early on in the game, they had it well protected. Take a look at that. I mean, it only really took 13 minutes in. 14 if you want to be specific. For the game to really be wide open. But it was the effectiveness of the strategy from FPX to just bully the Rumble on side lane. Send 2 people there, and they had no real solution to push them off. It was hard. It was a real hard life for Post.
That felt like a 4v5 from WE, just purely because Post didn't get into that game. Magic had a great early game, and there was no topside priority because the focus in that matchup wasn't really to be noted. Teleport comes down, Post gets an assist early, but it just did not top laner didn't exist there.
It really felt like a bait and switch because you have a Kalista composition. You really expect, okay, the action is going to happen topside where the dual lane actually ended up moving. So they moved from the bottom lane, went topside. You thought a fight was going to happen, but what ended up happening was Doinb plays it calm, goes back mid lane, plays the wave clear game, ends up going back to base. And then they start really rotating onto what was the extended lane that was in the bottom lane. That Rumble now was a major focus. And I think WE took too long to really recognize that. They couldn't make a strategy or a play happen topside because they didn't have any engage. They were looking towards the Thresh, and the Thresh wasn't able to land a single hook there. So I guess in hindsight, you would say, okay, maybe Magic should rotate a little bit more like to the bottom lane with Karma. You would see some better engages. In fact, you could probably push off the Lissandra completely.
Probably.
But that's something you'll go back if you're them. They'll look back at the tapes and say, they'll just blame composition. Because that was too hard for them to execute, especially for a team that has been having already troubles in team fights. They're poorly executing Galio and Camille composition.
Which is like the go-to.
Yes, and so if that's not working out well for you, then you probably want to dial it back a little bit.
And especially for WE when their early game was a little better. I mean, maybe first 5 minutes we're seeing a lot more competitiveness from Magic and xiye. But there's more questions to ask for WE's FPX continue their win streak. But series win streak, remember, how far does that go? We'll find out right after this.